attorney and media personality. I saw that on your site. I did watch your Vimeo movie. Really nice, really impressive. You know which one I'm talking about?
Thank you.
You know which one I'm talking about?
Thank you.
I'm sorry? Did you know which one I'm talking about? The movie with
Yeah. It's a little compilation of some of the media stuff I've done locally here in Chicago and also nationally on CNN and Fox.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really good. I don't know who did it for you, but they did a good job. Very, very nice. Okay, so what we're going to do today, and again, because Karen Conti is our guest, so we're going to spend the first segment. I just like to talk about the people that you help and in your regular practice as an attorney. The second segment, I want to talk a little bit about your legal analysis and all things, all the cases going around, because that's what you do, right? When you get on these national shows, or even your show when you make your appearances on Fox, right? They ask you for your analysis of legal events. And again, and I
try to make it interesting, try to make it informative, try to keep the politics out of it, and just really try to explain to people what they might be seeing and how the law really works, in real life.
And again, I think that you, of course, you are uniquely qualified to do that in the sense that you have a broad range of legal background. So, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. On the third segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the constitutions. That's our Constitution segment. And I have the opportunity to talk to someone who's argued a case in the Supreme Court. And so I think that's interesting. I did not know that about you. You mentioned that to me, Karen, in passing, like I knew that. I did not know that. I would have gone right there, had I known that. And I did get a chance to review that case. And I, actually remember it well. The Harold Washington party. I remember that well. And then the fourth segment, I want to talk a little bit about your interviewing and your opportunity to interview not only attorneys but other people in the news and other people interesting in your radio show. And I think you have a very informative radio show where you interview attorneys, but you also interview other people for news events and things like that. So I want to talk a little bit about your interviewing skills, and I think that's interesting. And then the fourth segment is really short, and we'll just kind of tie it all up at the end. How's it sound good to you?
Sounds great.
Obviously, I want to talk about anything you want to talk about. Okay, so that's kind of where I am on this. So we'll do that. I'll adjust this here myself, so you don't have to keep adjusting your camera. So, Josh, let us begin the show.
Would you like a podcast ball?
Yeah, you could do that.
Thank you so much for tuning in to our podcast. Another great episode is on the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts and join Stephen and Jim as they talk about everything under the sun and have a whole lot of fun.
All right.
News, sports, movies.
It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Pop culture, and puppies.
You love puppies.
It's the Watch Talk Radio podcast.
That line always makes me laugh. That's Alex Jones talking about puppies. Again, our guest is attorney Karen Conti. We're going to talk all things Chicago legal, and if unless you're under a rock, you've seen Karen on the television or heard her on the radio. And if you haven't now, you get to hear her on the radio now. So we want to welcome Karen. Now, what I kind of take, Karen, is that I don't like to talk too much between segments because I want to get everything you tell me on the show. So we'll run through this. We'll get you out of here by 3:00. I appreciate your time. I know that you're busy, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
Always fun. Always fun, Steve. I appreciate being on.
Okay, so let's do it, Josh.
Welcome to the Trust Radio Network. Join your host, attorney Stephen A. Leahy, every Saturday night at 7, right here on AM 560, as he engages in conversation with some of the most trusted professionals in all of Chicagoland. Enjoy interviews with local professionals dedicated to providing the very best products and services. Learn who they are, what they do, and most importantly, why they do it. Take a step inside the minds of some of Chicagoland's most successful business leaders and learn all there is to know every Saturday night at 7 on the Trust Radio Network. Now, here's your host, attorney Stephen A. Leahy.
Hey, welcome to the show. I am your host. I'm attorney Stephen A. Leahy, like the guy just said. This is the Trust Radio Network, where we introduce you to trusted professionals. Now, remember, this show is sponsored by the Law Office of Stephen A. Leahy, PC, and Opum Tax Advocates. Opum Tax Advocates helps business professionals solve their IRS problems forever. We help them with audits and levies, liens and garnishments, collections, unfiled tax returns, and payroll tax issues. We also help people with mortgage foreclosures, loan modifications, bankruptcy, and other debt-related issues, and more going to tax court. We'll talk about that at another time. But if you have a tax court case, or you get what they call a notice of deficiency, give me a call. I'll be happy to discuss it with you. 312-664-6649. Again, that number is 312-664-6649. You can visit us on the web, chicagotaxteam.com. Again, this show, the Trust Radio Network, is where I introduce you to trusted professionals. And today we are I would say my favorite guest. I'm not supposed to have a favorite, but I got one. Okay. So my favorite guest is attorney Carrie Conti. She's an attorney here in Chicago. I like to call her a media personality because she's on the television, she's on radio, she's on national television because of her gifts as a media personality, and we're lucky to have her on the show. Welcome to the show, Karen Conti.
Thank you, Steve. Always fun being here. Always fun.
Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate you taking the time. Now, because you have so much going, I want people to, first off, you're a practicing attorney, aren't you?
Well, that's exactly what I do for at least 8 to 10 hours a day.
And so I first, before we get into all the other things that you do, I want to talk a little bit about the people that you help every day, because again, as you mentioned, that's what you do every day, and all this other stuff it's interesting, but it really what you're doing is helping people, and in the law. Now, you help people with family law, don't you?
I do. Over my career, I have done a lot of different things. I started out in a big law firm where I represented insurance companies, and then I did environmental work, and then I did civil litigation with businesses. I did insurance coverage. I did employment law. I did criminal defense law, both white-collar and blue-collar crime. I tried many, many cases and argued appeals. And now, in this part of my career, I kind of settled into one practice, and that is family law. Although I still dabble in a few other things, that is primarily what I do, and I focus my efforts and my practice on helping people getting through divorce with their issues of child support, with issues of children's issues, parenting time, and prenuptial agreements, and almost everything that goes into relationship-oriented civil practice.
Now, you kind of beat me to the punch in that I was gonna have you explain to people what family law is, because it's kind of taken on a whole different meaning, because it used to be attorneys were divorce lawyers, but there's so much more to family law than just divorce, isn't there?
Well, right, and just because someone hasn't been married and has, they have children together,
very
which
good
is
point.
very common,
Yes.
all of the same kinds of rules apply. So we handle cases where parties have not been married but have children. We represent people who are going to get married and maybe are contemplating some sort of agreement that helps them, resolve things in the event that they do get divorced, and things that happen after the divorce. We call that post-decree. So, like, you have a say you were divorced 5 years ago, but your children now have different issues for parenting time or for child support modification. So we all handle those cases as well. And when we do that, my theory in that is to try to do everything amicably. So I think I distinguish myself a little bit from some of the other lawyers in that I approach every issue that a client comes to me for in a way that, how can we get this done without running to court, filing stuff, racking up attorney's fees, and to try to get the family back on track to some sense of normalcy.
Well, that's a big thing, because I think a lot of, whenever I come across people, they're always afraid because everything goes back to court and everything costs a lot of money. Every time you have some sort of little squabble between what does this mean? What does that mean? How do we do this? Everybody, all their attorneys want to run back to court. And that, of course, that becomes very expensive. And so I think that's a unique position, I think.
Well, it's very expensive. And so, for instance, if you say your ex-spouse is not paying for college and owes you $2,000, well, it could cost you $2,000 to hire a lawyer to get that $2,000. So a lot of people hesitate. And so one of the things that I try to do, like I said, is to try to do it amicably. Listen, we're going to go to court. We're going to get attorney's fees against you. Let's try to resolve this. Let's put aside the emotion and the animosity and the bitterness. Let's do what's best for the kids. Let's do what you're supposed to do under the divorce decree, and hopefully try to reason with people to get it done without costing everyone an arm and a leg.
Well, I interview a lot of attorneys, and I always it's always interesting to find out how they got in what you're doing. Now, you mentioned that you were doing, usually attorneys wind up doing whatever they come out of law school, they do, whatever their first job is. Seems like that's what they do for the rest of their career. But that wasn't your path. So I'm curious to how you got into that. I know you say, well, that's what you chose to do, and I know you can kind of choose whatever you want to do, as most attorneys can, right? You can focus your practice on anything you like. But what was it that brought you into family law? What was that attraction?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people in whatever profession they're in kind of look back and go, how did I get to be where I am? And sometimes it's hard to track that. I do have to say, when I got out of law school, I went to a big law firm, and I thought maybe that was my path. I went to a very good law school. I went to a law firm that was very well regarded. But I realized, Steve, that as I was representing businesses and insurance companies, it didn't make me feel good. Denying coverage to people who paid money for their premiums didn't get me out of bed in the morning. And believe me, when you're working 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week for a large law firm, which was par for the course back in the 1980s, you really need to like what you're doing and believe in what you're doing. Because although, yes, I went to law school to make money and to support myself and to have a stable life for myself, I really, really wanted to help people. I wanted to help the underdog. I wanted to make sure that people who couldn't afford things could access the law and to help people through their problems. I just feel like I'm a compassionate person. I'm a middle child. And so when my career evolved, representing criminal defendants, representing business people, I found that the family law practice was a way that I could use my compassion, my common sense, my emotional intelligence, and try to get people to resolve problems amicably. Again, that doesn't always happen. And when it doesn't happen, I'm ready to put on my hat, run into court, and be a very aggressive, experienced litigator, because I've tried cases all over the country. So, but that's not the first option in family law. And I like that approach. I like being a facilitator and a negotiator rather than someone who's always screaming and yelling in court and trying to win everything.
I want to point this out to you, because I think that a lot of people, I know it's kind of that lawyers help people, but obviously that's what many lawyers do. Obviously not all lawyers, but that's really what reminds me of the show, Christmas Carol, or not Christmas, but whatever. The only fun in law is helping people, right? And if you can't, as you mentioned, you can make a lot of money, but if you're not helping people and it's not fulfilling, it's just about money then. And law can be so much more than that.
Well, it can, and you can make money. You can make money practicing law and helping people. They're not mutually exclusive. And I do think, though, that again, when I'm nice to people and I listen to people and I try to understand people and I try to really, really do what I think of my clients as my family and my friends, even though they're not. I try to treat them as I would treat somebody who I really, really care about in that sense. And so when I go home at the end of the day, I mean, I've been practicing for 35 years, and money is money. But when I go home at the end of the day, I feel good.
Yeah.
You know, I may not have won everything. I may not have gotten everything for all of my clients, but I know I've tried really hard, and I know I've helped them, and I know I've held their hand, and I know I've guided them without regard for my well-being or anyone else's well-being. And I know I've also kept in mind the children's interests, because I have to sometimes remind clients, this is not about you fighting your spouse. This is about you making sure your kids are productive, wonderful, well-adjusted, happy children.
Exactly.
And keep your eye on that ball and make decisions accordingly. So at the end of the day, I feel good about what I've done.
Well, tell us how we can contact you, Karen, if someone's looking for a family lawyer.
Best way is always email for me, and the easiest one is WGN at AskKarenConti.com. That's AskKarenContiLaw.com.
Well, let me interrupt you, Karen, because I'm going to tell people we're going to talk a little bit more to Karen Conti after the break. We're going to take a short break. Join us, won't you, on AM 560, The Answer. It's always amazing to me that when I'm trying to produce this thing on my laptop in front of me, when something goes, it's something. I've been doing this for some time now, and it keeps changing on me. It keeps switching the camera on me. Why? I don't know. I'm figuring it out.
You know, Steve, I'm still having a hard time hearing you, and I've got my phone up all the way.
It's not on our end? No?
I don't know if it's your end. I don't know.
No, I'm sorry about that.
I want to make sure I hear everything.
No, I understand. I wish we could find a way over. We're working on trying to find a way around the telephone, and they promised me here at the station they're going to do that. They're working on it. I apologize, but luckily I want you to do most of the talking, so it doesn't.
Okay, let me move this picture. Can you give me a minute? I just want to move this picture.
Take a minute. I don't know why it keeps switching off of my camera. 2, 3. See, it just did it again. Why is it doing that? I don't know why it's doing this. It keeps switching from me back to your camera without me telling it to. So I don't know why it's doing that. But I don't know. Okay, let's do the show there, Josh.
And now, back to the Trust Radio Network on AM 560. The Answer. Real conversations with some of the most trusted professionals in Chicagoland. Once again, here's attorney Stephen A. Leahy.
Welcome back. I am your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. This is the Trust Radio Network. We're joined here with our technical producer, Joliet Josh. Thanks for all you do, Joliet. And we're joined this week by our friend of the show, attorney Karen Conti. Attorney Conti is not only a attorney here in Chicago, but she does a lot of media appearances. And I wanted to talk to her about that. Welcome back to the program, Attorney Conti.
Hi, Steve.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, because again, you do a lot of legal analysis. It's been kind of the Super Bowl recently of cases, because it seems like there's a lot of the Rittenhouse case, the case down in Georgia. Now we have the Supreme Court in session, and all of this is going on. And you get a chance to talk about all of these cases, isn't that right?
Yeah, I do. I get called upon by a couple of national networks that call me. I've got a regular segment on a national syndicated show. I've got my own radio show on WGN, and I get called upon by WGN to do a regular segment at least twice a week. So I've got all these media outlets, and it's fun. So it keeps me on my toes, because I have to keep up to speed on all these cases. And you're right, we have had so many cases this year. If you think about all the high profile, the Jussie Smollett and gun cases and school shootings and all kinds of cases that now are, some of them or many of them are on cameras in the courtroom, so people are watching them and they're really following them. And it's, who needs Netflix when you can watch real live court drama? So I get called upon to do that, and I really enjoy it very, very much.
Well, I have to agree with you that I remember watching O.J. Simpson. I watched it. I was glued to the television, watched it all, the whole thing. I even listened to it on the radio when I wasn't there, so I really followed it closely. Same thing with this Rittenhouse case. I did some streaming where I had other attorneys and we commented on as the streaming was going, kind of live commentary. That was a lot of fun. Took up my whole day, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it can be distracting from your real job.
Exactly. And as you mentioned, it's hard sometimes to keep up with all of this. And when someone calls you and says, "Hey, Attorney Conti, can you appear and comment on it?" You got to do your homework, isn't that right?
You do. And for instance, I just got called a few minutes ago, just before we started, to do something at 7 o'clock tonight on the issue of the school shooting up in Michigan, parents being charged. And, I have to research the law in Michigan on, do parents have to keep their guns locked? What are the laws that could possibly be used? What is involuntary manslaughter? What is voluntary manslaughter? What are the possible sentences? What are the facts leading the prosecutor to believe that they can sustain a conviction on it? What were the facts in this case? Is there precedent from other jurisdictions that allowed parents to be prosecuted? So there's a lot of angles that you have to research. Now, fortunately, we have the internet to do that, but it still takes time because I want to be well-rounded and I want to be able to explain the possibilities of what could happen here.
Well, absolutely. And again, as you just mentioned, you just kind of rattled off all of these issues that just for that one case and how it all comes, how much is in play with just one case. And yet we're faced with all of these different cases throughout the nation that take a little bit of legal analysis to kind of go through it to help people understand, right? Because I think it's hard for attorneys to understand, right?
Even as much as who the players are, who's the judge in this case? He's been practicing, been on the bench for 35 years. He's pro-defense, he's pro-prosecution. Who's the prosecutor? Is he experienced? Who's defending? All those things are important too because the players in these high-profile cases really can make or break the prosecution and the defense.
Yeah, it's so important. And I want to now. As I mentioned, you also get a chance to interview a lot of people, not only attorneys but other people with all these issues with your radio show. Again, Attorney Conti has a radio show on WGN. It's heard every Sunday, and then she makes appearances on the shows on WGN to comment on these cases. Talk a little bit about the people that you get to meet in your role as a media personality.
Well, going back to OJ, when OJ was going on, and I had a radio show many years ago. I interviewed Marcia Clark. I had Robert Shapiro as a regular on my show. I've interviewed Heidi Slice, the Hollywood Madam, who came on my show several times. Vincent Bugliosi was a regular. He was the guy who prosecuted Charles Manson and wrote the great book Helter Skelter. Yeah. I've interviewed Alan Dershowitz. I've interviewed litigants in all kinds of cases. People, children who brought lawsuits. Just almost anybody. Like this coming weekend, following weekend, I have a woman who is one of the high-profile, the profilers from the FBI. Who, if you ever saw Mindhunter, she was one of the women depicted in that show, and she was one of the pioneers in the idea of profiling serial killers. And she just wrote a book that I'm reading and going to finish soon. It's just fascinating about how these people do their work. So I get to meet a lot of interesting people, a lot of smart people, and try to just synthesize a little bit about what their knowledge is, get them to speak in plain English, so everyone can understand. Yeah. That's always a challenge because when you got smart people and lawyers lawyers, they all want to talk like lawyers and smart people. And, not that you're dumbing it down, but you want everyone to understand what they're talking about. And so it's fun and it's a challenge, and I keep them as friends, which is always very nice.
Well, I knew that you had you did some good name dropping there. That's good. And I know that on my own show we talked about your involvement with the Gacy case, and so you have a vast experience with so many different types of law and cases. It's kind of again, happy to have you on the show to talk about it. Talk a little bit now, a little bit about non-lawyers because you get to. How do you pick the people that you put on your radio show?
Well, first of all, I like topical things, Steve. So if I look and see in the news that there's a case about a school shooting or gun rights, I always go for people who have experience in those kinds of cases or those kinds of issues. I try to keep it local because I think people like to hear from Chicago-based experts and lawyers, as opposed to someone from California or from somewhere else. And fortunately for us here in Chicago, we have wonderful law schools like University of Chicago and Northwestern and University of Illinois. So we have a plethora of really smart academics if I need that, experts, holistic experts if I need that, if I need lawyers. Obviously, we have some of the best lawyers in the country here. So and then I always want to make sure that they speak well. And when I say speak well, as I said before, what I pride myself in is I'm a girl from Berlin, so I didn't start my life speaking with big words, and so I still don't. And I think that maybe makes me better at having a radio show where I'm not talking to lawyers. I'm talking to real people who don't know what all these words might mean. Word of certiorari and words that make no sense to the average person. So I look for people who can break down the issues like I can and to really explain them well and can speak well to my listeners.
Well, again, I think you do a wonderful job. I love listening to you on the radio and on television. I think that everybody benefits by your analysis. I think you do a great, and again, you do bring it down so we all can understand it. Because even as attorneys, it's hard to understand a lot of stuff. But you have the vast experience to bring this all together. So first, tell people how they can reach you, Karen.
Sure. You can email me at wgn@askkarenconti.com, askkarenconti.com. And you can always Google me, Karen Conti, KarenConti. You go to the WGN website because I have a page there. Yeah. And my phone number is 312-332-7800.
Well, again, so I would encourage anybody who's facing has some family law questions. One thing that Karen does very well is that she'll answer your questions if you have them, right? If someone calls you with a question, you're happy to answer it, aren't you?
I am, and truly, email is the best because I can quickly email you back. I get up very early in the morning, and I look at the emails where people are asking me a question. They might want a link to something. They might want a quick answer. They might want a referral to a lawyer in a different city or in a different area of practice. And so I have a list of things and list of legal clinics, and so I can immediately email you back with an answer or a suggestion or a referral.
Well, we're running out of time here. We're running out of time here, Karen. So let me remind everybody we're going to have the Constitution segment next on AM 560. The Answer. Thanks, Karen. That's good. I love the. I love the interaction that you have with your guests. As I was mentioning, I saw that the montage of all your appearances. Very good job. I encourage anybody to go out and find that. It's pretty impressive. We're going to do the Constitution segment, and we're going to talk about your case that you handled. I see that my David Shippers was on that case also, who I met. I had the opportunity to meet.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. He was one of the old time, I don't know if people know who David Shippers is, but he was he's an attorney's attorney. Democrat operative, but he also worked on the Clinton impeachment trial. And
he did.
And I had a chance to talk to him about that.
And if we have time, I have a couple of funny stories about arguing before the Supreme Court.
Okay, well, that's what we're going to talk about. Let's do it, Josh.
Okay.
You're listening to the Trust Radio Network on AM 560. The Answer. Step inside the minds of some of Chicago's most successful business leaders. Here's your host, attorney Stephen A. Leahy.
From 1788 until the end of time, we the people make a resolution to defend the Constitution.
We're not going to sit here and listen to you badmouth the United States of America.
So let liberty, justice, and freedom ring. It's the Constitution segment.
Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do.
And part of that telling the government what to do is the opportunity to bring cases to the United States Supreme Court. And on this Constitution segment, you may know, if you've listened to the show, that I love to talk about provisions and constitutional amendments and cases. But we have a chance. Attorney Karen Conti is our guest here today, and she had an opportunity to argue a case in front of the Supreme Court. Welcome back to the program, Attorney Conti.
Good to see you, as always.
We'll talk a little bit about that case that you had. Tell us what it was and what was the opportunity to go in front of the Supreme Court.
Well, as people might not know or may know, that the Supreme Court doesn't take every single case. They only take like 1% to 2% of all cases where they're asked to take it. So they pick and choose cases that have some broad impact, or where there's two states that are fighting about how the law should be interpreted. So that's why you get the big important cases before the U.S. Supreme Court, the ones that will impact lots of people for different social and policy reasons. So this was about 30 years ago. We were called upon, my partner and I were called upon by the Democratic Party in Cook County, saying that they had a dispute with the Harold Washington Party. Remember the Harold Washington Party? Our mayor, late mayor, there was a party that was formed to run candidates, and they ran candidates and they lost. But in the interim, the question was whether or not, it's kind of technical, but whether or not the Harold Washington Party, to be a party in Chicago and to be put on the ballot as a party, you had to field a full slate of candidates, or whether you could just pop up and say, I'm the Harold Washington Party and I'm running for one office. And so that was the question. And the issue is ballot access, because being part of a party gives you a step up. And so the question to me was moot, because the Harold Washington Party candidates had all lost. And so the Cook County Party wanted us to ask the Supreme Court to weigh in on it. So we wrote a petition asking the court to hear it, and we were shocked to find out that the court not only granted it, meaning they were going to hear the case, but they were going to hear it on the first Monday of October, which we as lawyers know is the first day of the session and the day that is supposedly reserved for the most important cases on the docket.
Exactly.
So here we were thinking, we're not going to the Supreme Court, we're just going to go through the motions, and then here we are getting ready to go to Washington, D.C.
Well, that's amazing. Talk a little bit about what your experience was there at the court, because it's got to be intimidating as hell, right?
Oh my gosh, I have to tell you, I was young at the time, but I'd still be intimidated today. It is a very formal place. I would encourage anyone who goes to Washington to see if you can pop in and look at the court. If it's in session and you're able to sit and watch it, even if you don't understand everything going on, it's fabulously entertaining. And now you can actually go online and listen to the arguments, which is really great. It's very intimidating. The justices, whether you like their politics or like who appointed them, are extremely intelligent. They all have top law clerks from all of the top law schools who work for them. So you walk in and it's just very intimidating. There's Rehnquist and there's Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman on the bench. Actually, we're missing a judge because This was at the time when Clarence Thomas was actually being grilled by the Senate for his confirmation hearings, with Anita Hill testifying against him. As you recall, Thurgood Marshall had resigned.
Yeah.
And so all of that was going on at that exciting time in Washington. So it was really, you couldn't sleep. I mean, I couldn't sleep for 2 or 3 days before and after. It was just nerve-wracking.
Well, I understand that that's difficult. People say, well, even trial attorneys, when they're going to trial, have a problem sleeping. But before you go in front of the Supreme Court, again, it got to be nerve-wracking about that. What happened there?
About
Go ahead.
Doing your homework. I mean, there is no limit on the homework you need to do to get there.
Yeah, exactly. So, talk a little bit more. We're going to talk, I think in the next segment, let's talk a little bit about some more experiences there, because there was a host of lawyers that were involved in that case. It wasn't just you, right? There was the county.
Yeah, Eugene Pincham and his son. A lot of high profile people. And I was the only woman who was arguing that afternoon. So they let you in this little gate, and so I was the only woman. And I don't know if you have time now, but I was going to tell a quick story about Sandra Day O'Connor.
We do not. Well, we'll do that on the other side of the break. Okay. We're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back with attorney Karen Conti to talk a little bit about her experience on the Supreme Court. Remember, if you're fighting the IRS, you should call Open Tax Advocates. They can help you. Call them at 312-664-6649. Again, it's 312-664-6649. Go online at chicagotaxteam.com. We're going to take a small break. Attorney Conti on the Trust Radio Network is going to join us, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the Supreme Court and her experience on the Supreme Court. So join us, won't you, here on AM 560, The Answer. Okay. No music that time. You'll put it in.
Remember, I swap out the.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because I use that segment on both shows, Karen. I know you can't. You're having a hard time hearing me. I know. Okay, let's do the next segment.
Now, back to the Trust Radio Network on AM 560. Hear from Chicago's business leaders. Learn who they are, what they do, and why they do it. Once again, here's attorney Stephen A. Leahy.
Welcome back to the show. I am your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. We're joined here today with our technical producer, Joliet Josh. Our guest this week has been attorney Karen Conti. We had a chance to talk to attorney Conti about her case and experience in the Supreme Court, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. Welcome back to the program, attorney Conti.
Hi, Steve.
I want to talk a little bit more about that because you again, big parties here. I mean, you talk about Sandra Day O'Connor, icon in the legal community, not only because she was the first woman on the Supreme Court, but because of her legal knowledge, right? So, talk a little bit about your experience again with the personalities there at the Supreme Court.
Well, I have to tell a story because it just, again, I'm not whining or complaining, but so I walk in to the arguments, and there's, maybe 15 lawyers who all come in there. Before you go to the Supreme Court, you have to sign up and become a member. You have to get attestations from different lawyers who are also members of that bar, who say that you're in good character. You have to be out of law school 5 years. You have to have all these good things. You have to sign in when you get there. So, and my name is printed on the brochure with the case. So I'm there legitimately, right? So I sit down. I'm the only woman, dressed conservatively, and out come the judges. And there, to my immediate center to right, was and she looked directly at me. She immediately summoned her clerk who were behind her and one of the bailiffs and whispered in their ear. About 2 minutes later, everything's quiet, nothing's going on, everyone's looking around, and the sheriff, the bailiff, comes behind me and pokes me on the shoulder and said, "Are you a member of the U.S. Supreme Court Bar?" Me. Just me. I said, yes, I am. I have all of my pride, and I have my badge, and I have my, and so he nodded to her, and she said, okay.
You look too young, probably. You probably look too young.
To this day, I have no idea why she singled me out. Was it because I was a woman? Was it because I looked young? It was the strangest thing. And to this day, I don't really know why that happened. But I have to tell you, that was very intimidating. And again, not to say that women have it hard and woe is me, but I do think I was singled out even by the first female U.S. Supreme Court justice questioning my qualifications to sit in that chair.
Well, I can't guess why that was, but I would think it's because you were young and you didn't look. You have to be an attorney for 5 years, and I mean, you look young now. I'm sure at that time it looked like you're just a teenager.
Yeah, but I wasn't wearing diapers, so I had my most expensive Brook Brothers suit on. So I'm sure that's the part, but who knows?
I'm sure you did. Now, I can tell you that my experience. I appeared in front of the Supreme Court, but I got sworn in because that's it. So I got to argue in front, but it was with my wife. I argued with my wife, but I was there, and I did I am sworn into the Supreme Court. So my point is they let almost anybody in because I got in. But it was actually an honorable.
Did you have to tell everyone that, Steve?
I know. I tried to bring it down to the truth, but it was a lot. It was very. It was just appearing there in front of the judges, getting sworn in was very intimidating, and just stand there. It was an honor for me to be there. My family was there behind us, and we got sworn in, and we got a chance to look around the Supreme Court and met Judge Roberts, and he came in and gave us a little talk, and it was a great day, and.
You know what? It's a branch of government.
Yeah.
And even though every day you and I, Steve, when we go to court or we handle a case, we affect one person and we try to help them. But when you go to the Supreme Court, you're asking the court to change policy or affirm a policy that could affect millions of people, whether it's a ballot access case, whether it's abortion, a First Amendment issue, whatever it is. These are important cases, and you're asking the court to really act as a body of government to affect numerous people. It's very, very intimidating.
Well, as you mentioned, you were a young lady at the time. Did you think that you were going to do that more often? I could say my first case out of law school, I represented someone and it went to appeal. And so I didn't get to argue the appeal, but I wrote an appeal and I thought, well, maybe this is what law is all about. But that's the only thing. That's the only time I ever had an appeal. And so did you think you were going to appear more in front of the Supreme Court?
No, because it's such a fluke. Like I said, 1% to 2% of all cases that get appealed to the Supreme Court are even taken. So, and that is really expensive to get there because you have to appeal to different courts before you finally get to the Supreme Court. So who's got the money? Who's got the time to do all of that? So no, I knew this was a one and done. And frankly, I don't really love appellate work. That's a whole different skill than trial skills. And I like getting in front of a jury. I like getting in front of a judge and arguing a particular case. When you get to that level, on the appellate level, it's just not my forte. I'm not saying I can't do it and I don't do it well. It's just not what I really choose to do with my time and my talent.
Well, tell people if they need your time and talent, how they can reach you, Attorney Conti.
You can always Google me, which is what most people do, or email me at WGN at askkarenconti.com, ASKKARENCONTI.com, 312-332-7800.
Well, thanks so much. We have one more segment with Attorney Conti, and we're going to get to get a little bit more knowledge from her. So we're going to take a break. Remember, if you're fighting the IRS, fight them with Open Tax Advocates. Give them a call at 312-664-6649. Again, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and talk to Attorney Conti here on AM 560, The Answer. Very short segment after this, Attorney Conti, and we'll let you get out of here. So, 3 o'clock, just like I promised.
All right.
That's a great story. I know that everybody it would intimidate me. And are you sure that you're? I know Josh is shaking his head. Yeah, that's
but of all people to question, the woman.
Yeah, you think it would be the old man would ask you.
Yeah, right. You would think it would be Ben Rehnquist or Alito or something. But I was going to tell you, I just finished my book on Gacy, and I wrote a whole chapter about being the only female that Gacy had over the years, and that little segment is in my book, and so hopefully we're going to get that published early next year.
Well, I would hope that we could get you on the show and plug the book and get you to talk about the book. Love it. I got to say that when we had you on, kind of when I learned about you that you're on the Supreme Court, that you did argued in front of the Supreme Court, you were sitting here with us, and you mentioned kind of offhand that you had been involved in the Gacy in a procedure with Gacy, and I was just amazed. So that was a great story. And now you're gonna write a book, so we're gonna get you online to talk about that book. That'd be very, very
sure.
Love to do that. Josh, let's do the final segment.
And now, back to the Trust Radio Network on AM 560. The Answer. Real conversations with some of the most trusted professionals in Chicagoland. Once again, here's attorney Stephen A. Leahy.
Welcome back to the show. We're here with our technical producer, Joliet Josh. We've had the opportunity today to sit and chat with attorney Karen Conti. I want to welcome Karen Conti back to the show. Welcome back to the show, attorney Conti.
Thank you so much for having me. This is always fun.
Well, it's fun for us too. I think I'm always impressed and kind of amazed at your vast experience, and that's why I love to have you on the show. And again, not only that your legal experience, but you get you're on the national shows, the legal analysis. I love that. And so I'm so happy that you can join us here today. And we'll you mentioned something over the break. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit on the show, or if you want to talk about it another time. What do you think?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. Talk about what you just were talking to me about the book.
Well, 27 years ago, I represented John Gacy, the serial killer, in his last set of appeals. And it wasn't, I was in high school when he committed the crimes that he committed, the horrific, horrible, unbelievable crimes. Yeah. But at the very tail end, when all of his normal appeals were done, 4 lawyers represented him in his death row appeals. Obviously, we lost, spoiler alert. But I decided after all these years, finally, to write the book that I've always wanted to write, but I was hesitant just because of the nature of the whole case, and it doesn't bring up good memories for anyone. But I think my experience in representing somebody in a case like this is really interesting and really important. I've been asked to talk about it all over the country and give speeches and be interviewed about it, even internationally. And I've been on Netflix and all these other shows, and so people are interested. So I figured, why not just write this book? It's about Gacy, and it's not about Gacy's crimes. It's about my relationship with Gacy and what it was like to represent somebody who was this evil to try to save his life. And even though it's a very serious topic, it's a light book in that it's about a relationship, and it's about how you get along with people, and it's about your beliefs, and it's about putting aside certain things in order to do your job as an attorney and to be a zealous advocate. And I think I hope it's inspiring to people who might want to be lawyers. It's interesting to explain the death penalty and how it works. It deals with some of the history at the time, what was going on, and it also deals with my plight as a female attorney. And I'm hoping that people will enjoy it, and again, not take it as something that I'm trying to make money on representing a serial killer, because we all know there's no money in books. But I feel good having written it, Stephen, and you're going to be one of the first people who gets the copy.
Well, great. And I got to tell you that when you appeared here, you were on the show here once, and when you got kind of in passing, as I mentioned, you kind of in passing mentioned on it. But man, everybody's ears perk up. It's like, what? you met John Wayne Gacy, and you had some
right? I mean, even though people are disgusted disgusted by it, and some people, I still get hate mail.
Yeah.
Like there isn't a week that has gone by in 27 years where I don't have some horrific email or letter or something, right? But listen, I did what I did. It was an interesting experience. I lost it. Most people thought that was the right decision, and I'm writing about it, and I'm hoping that other people can learn from it and maybe take away something important, whatever that is.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that with us. We're going to get you on here to talk about that book as soon as it gets published. We'd love to hear your stories. I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show. You get. I'm at a loss for words because you're just what I thought it was going to be. A great show. Thanks for joining us. Now, remember to join us next week, Saturday on AM 560, The Answer.
Thank you for tuning in to the Trust Radio Network on AM 560, The Answer. Be sure to join attorney Stephen A. Leahy again next Saturday night at 7 as he engages in conversations with some of the most trusted professionals in all of Chicagoland. Enjoy interviews with local professionals dedicated to providing the very best products and services. Learn who they are, what they do, and most importantly, why they do it. Take a step inside the minds of some of Chicagoland's most successful business leaders and learn all there is to know on the Trust Radio Network with your host, attorney Stephen A. Leahy. See you right back here next Saturday night at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
Again, thank you, Attorney Conti, for joining us here today. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. And I'd love to have you on when your book gets published. I'd love to talk about it. So thanks again for joining us.
Happy holidays to you and to all your listeners.
To you too. Thank you again.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take care, Steve. Bye-bye.
Well, that was fun. I always say that she's always a great guest, Attorney Conti. And every time she's been on the show, something else pops up that I had no idea of. But again, we did get a chance to talk to her about her experience with Gacy. So you can look that up on our shows. It's in the back there. Look for Karen Conti. And again, now she talks about appearing in the Supreme Court. Very, very nice. Now, I don't know. I'm going to take a short break here, fill up my water, and then we're going to come by and we're going to knock this show out quickly so I can get back to my family. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, today's my Rosati's pizza day. So
That's like family.
They are like family. That is true. Matter of fact, the longer I go there, the more like family they are, and all the other patrons. So I'm going to take a moment. Thanks so much, and we'll be right back. Let me get this on there. Get that on there. There it goes. I have no idea why it's doing that. Okay. I don't know what happened. It kept pushing, I don't look like they set up something again on me and because you couldn't see it as I'm on the camera. If I put her on, both of us on, it kept going back to her camera. And I'm like, I think it was because there was a box. I think there was a box checked that whenever she talked, it went back, it went to her. And it was frustrating. But better it went to her than to me. So that was again very good. Attorney Conti's gracious enough to join us here today. I've been trying to get her on the show for a long time. She can't really do Fridays but she had this Friday available, so I made sure that she can get in here. And again, she's always a great guest. I've had the pleasure of appearing on her show several times, and I always have fun. Okay. Okay. Let us do the show. I know what I'm going to talk about. I had it. This is where we're back to. I have to write the stuff down because I'm like, oh yeah, I got the show down. I know exactly what I'm going to talk about. But then I don't write it down because I'm like, well, it's so obvious. Why do I have to write it down for? I know exactly what I'm going to talk about. But then I forget what were you going to talk about? And so now I have to stop and just think about that. But I know what I'm going to do on the blog segment. This blog segment, I'm starting a new series of blog segments where I'm going to try to show people how they can solve their own IRS problem. And so I'm going to do it on a step-by-step basis. And, so today's step one, and we're going to talk about that. Of course, we don't have to do the Constitution segment because we have Karen Conti is going to make her appearance on the show for the Constitution segment. This is the frequently asked questions segment. I had a great question, and I'm trying to remember what it is. Now, the fifth segment, generally we talk sports, but I'm going to talk about something else on there. I'm going to leave it to the end, kind of a sports-like, I guess, but you'll see what I'm talking about at the end. I don't want to ruin it for Josh. And then the first segment, of course, is the news segment. And I'm really, I've been really perplexed about this whole individual freedom thing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Let me go back to Steve Leahy. That's me. Oh, no, that didn't work. Okay, let's go back to this one. Attorney Stephen Leahy. There it is. Nope, that didn't work either. Mm-hmm. Okay, we will begin the show, and I'll wing it. The best shows are scripted, and I wing it. So that just tells you I'm not the best show. Actually, I hate shows that are scripted, but and you can tell some that are. Just read. I can sit here and read my script. I could be like President Biden and just read the teleprompter. I saw him the other day. I watched one of his news conferences. I try not to watch his news conferences, but I did watch one. He's squinting like this. His eyes are almost closed, and he's reading. It's so obvious he's reading. It's like, you say what you want about Trump, but he didn't read. He didn't read off the teleprompter. When the reporter asked him a question, he had an answer, and he didn't care who the reporter was. It wasn't planted. And again, whether it's Trump or, I think that's what a president ought to be able to do, is to act on, answer questions on the fly from whoever asks them. Why do you have to have them planted? Doesn't make sense to me. That's not really helping us. Anyway, my own opinion. Let's start the show, Josh, and I'll rant about something or other.
Pursuant to Internal Revenue Service guidance, be advised that any federal tax advice contained in this program is not intended to be used, and it cannot be used by any person or entity for the purpose of avoiding any tax penalties that may be imposed by the Internal Revenue Service or any other U.S. federal taxing authority or agency, or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any transaction or matter addressed in this show. The opinions expressed by the host and the guests are their own and may not be used as authoritative advice. Any use of this material without the written consent of the host is strictly prohibited.
You're listening to the IRS Radio Hour with your host, Attorney Stephen Leahy, on AM 560, The Answer. Tune in every week at 5 for an informative discussion about IRS obligations, credit card debt, mortgage default, collection activity, and how to resolve these legal issues using tax resolution, debt settlement, mortgage loan modification, foreclosure defense, and bankruptcy. Your host is Stephen Leahy, and the principal at Open Tax Resolutions and the law office of Stephen Leahy, PC. Stephen is the author of Deal with Your IRS Problems Today. IRS and debt issues are serious, but there is help. There are resolutions. So get ready and take notes during the IRS Radio Hour. And now, here's your host, Attorney Stephen Leahy.
Hello, Chicago Patriots. We are coming to you from Studio C here at AM 560, The Answer. This is the IRS Radio Hour.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Now remember, the IRS Radio Hour is brought to you by the law office of Stephen A. Leahy, PC, and Opum Tax Advocates.
God bless you, Opum Tax Resolution.
Opum Tax Advocates helps business professionals solve their IRS problems forever. We help them with audits and levies, liens and garnishments, collections, unfiled tax returns, and payroll tax issues. We also help people with mortgage foreclosures, loan modifications, bankruptcy, and other debt-related issues. So if you have any of these problems, or if you know someone who does, you should give us a call at 312-664-6649. Again, that number is 312-664-6649. You can visit us on the web at chicagotaxteam.com. I want to introduce our technical producer, Joliet Josh. Hello, Joliet. And we are going to move on with the show. Review and comment on the news. I always get that part right. Where's Jimmy when I need him? He ain't here. It's the news roundup. That's what it is. Review and comment on the news. Okay, so here's the news. It's not a lot of good news. I'm seeing this all over the world, and it's really troubling me. Now, I go to many alternative media sources because I'm not really sure what they're showing in the mainstream media. I don't think they're showing much of anything. But I don't know if you've seen what's going on in Australia, in Austria, in Germany, all over the world, that they have these vaccine mandates now that they're quarantining people. I wouldn't say quarantine. It's a lockdown. They're locking people up. In Australia, they have camps for indigenous people and people are escaping from these camps, and they're getting arrested and putting in jail. Why are they getting? Because they want freedom. And then they arrest them and they test them and they're negative. It's like, why am I in this camp if I'm negative? I can understand if you have a disease and you need to be quarantined because you might infect others. But when and this is what's wrong with the vaccine mandate, not the mandate, but the lockdowns, like they're doing in Austria, like they're doing in Germany now, that if you don't have a vaccine, you can't leave. So you're not even a risk anybody. And I don't know if you saw this Kramer, Jim, I think his name is Jim Kramer. He's from CNBC. And don't people stop and listen to themselves when he announces that, everybody in America has to have a vaccine because you're out there killing people if you don't have a vaccine. Actually, if I don't have a vaccine and I don't have the COVID, you can't catch it from me. I don't have it. But they're trying to make it like if you don't have the vaccine, then somehow you need to be quarantined because you're a threat to everybody else. Well, why is it that all these other people who have COVID, they are getting the disease. They're getting COVID too. As many famous people who have many sports stars have the vaccine and yet come down with COVID and have to be quarantined for some time. So it's not really about the vaccine or not having the vaccine, but this is what we did. Now I want to talk about individual freedom and individual liberty, opposed to what's best for society. Whenever I hear this argument, that we need to give up things, our freedom, because it's the best thing for society, this is trouble. It's always been trouble. Now I'm going to liken it to, for our own safety, we had to quarantine the Japanese Americans because it was for our own good. They were a threat to us, to safety, to everybody's safety, and so you didn't have to prove that they did anything wrong. All you had to say was, they were a threat because of who they were. And isn't that exactly what's going on with the vaccine mandates? And I could hear the arguments. Oh, but Attorney Leahy, that had to do with their national origin. We're talking about a vaccine. Yeah, I understand, but it's just another example, right? It's another example of sequestering people based on some arbitrary, fundamental way of saying, well, they're a threat. And we know that not every Japanese person was a threat, but yet we threw a blanket over everyone and said, we're going to quarantine all of them because one of them may be a threat. Isn't that the same thing that's going on with the vaccine, that we're saying to all the people, you haven't had the vaccine, even though you may not be a threat yourself, because you're only a threat if you have COVID, right? I can't spread COVID to others if I don't have COVID. And so just because I haven't been vaccinated, haven't received the vaccination, doesn't mean I am a threat to anybody. And so they're throwing this blanket over, say, everybody. Well, if you don't have the vaccine, you may be a threat. And so that's enough for us to quarantine you. And again, as they're doing in Australia, they're putting people in camps. In Austria, they're locking down people. You can't even go buy food. Same thing's going on in Germany. You can't even go out and buy food. You can't leave your home. And they say that America, we're about 3 to 6 months behind what's going on in Europe. And so does that tell me in 3 to 6 months that's what we're doing? We're moving that way, and that we're going to start locking people up because they haven't had a vaccine? And when you hear this Kramer start saying we need 100% participation in vaccinations, and we should get the military involved, don't you stop and think to yourself, that's just crazy. What, are we going to hold people down and make them have a vaccine? How do you get 100% of anything, of anybody to do anything? 100%. How do you do that without some unbelievable tactics that would be against everybody's liberty? And this, again, I want to talk about individual liberty and our country. We're based on, always have been, and again, we're trying to get away from that. And that's just this whole socialist thing. What's best for society? We're not supposed to look at what's best for society. We look at what's best for the individual, because we have learned through history that what's best for the individual is what's best for society. And when you start making decisions, life and death decisions, based on what's best for society, then the question becomes, who's defining what's best for society? And then is that true? And how many times now is the mainstream media and in our own government proven to be false, giving us false information, leading us the wrong way? Wasn't that the case with the Japanese internment camps? We listened to the government. The government told us that we had to do that. It was the best thing for society for us to intern the Japanese. And so they went along with it, and they did it. There was people that were protesting, always did protest that, but they did it anyway. And isn't that exactly what's going on now? That people are objecting, but they're telling us, hey, that's the best thing now is vaccine internment camps. We need internment camps to keep those who are not vaccinated away from those who are vaccinated, because this is an unvaccinated disease. This is what what the trouble is. But that's just not true, because look at the numbers. And this is Dr. Fauci. I am science. No, you're not. And this is where it all just stops conversations and arguments. And that's where we're going down the wrong road. And it scares me to death. Let us fight. Let's stop. Let's fight for individual freedom and individual liberty. That's where we're going to find an answer to this question. We're not going to find it by the government imposing what's best for society, because they don't know what's best for society. Look around you. They don't know what's best for society. Let's not leave it to them to tell us. Anyway, if you're fighting the IRS, and that's, and we could talk a little bit more about that in another segment. But if you're fighting the IRS, then you should call Open Tax Advocates. Open Tax Advocates helps business professionals solve their IRS problems forever. Call them, 312-664-6649. Again, it's 312-664-6649. In the next blog segment, I'm going to start telling you how to solve your own IRS problem here on AM 560. The Answer. I was a second overdue. Let me put this in there and then we can do this next segment. I'm not at my best today, Josh. I don't know why. Now, as I'm doing this, I remember now what the question is of the week is. And so I'm going to say it out loud so I don't forget, because I'll forget otherwise. And then I can say to Josh, what was it again, Josh? The question is, what's the number one reason people should not file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy? Right, so that's the question of the week. What's the number one reason? Because it keeps popping up in my practice, especially when I get because I get many referrals from our friend David Hochberg, and people, and here's the that's kind of a clue, because David helps people refinance their homes, so it's got something to do with that. Okay, this is the news. We're going to do the new segment. Solve your own IRS problem. I had a good name for it, but I can't remember it. So I'm just going to say, solve your own IRS problem. Module 1. No, step 1. How about step 1? How about we do step 1? How to solve your own. That's what we're going to do. Step 1. How to solve your own IRS problem. It's a new series. Let's do it, Josh.
Welcome back to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy. Stephen has helped hundreds of Chicagoans recover from financial disaster, and he wants to help you and your family. There are resolutions, and you will hear about all those resolutions during today's informative discussion on the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560 The Answer. Now, here's your host, attorney Stephen Leahy.
Welcome back to the show. I am your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. Like the guy just said, I'm joined here with our technical producer, Joliet Josh. Now, Joliet Josh helps me on another show we do, and it's called the Trust Radio Network. The Trust Radio Network airs on this station, AM 560, The Answer, every Saturday at 7 o'clock. I introduce you to trusted professionals, people you can trust when you're making important decisions. Yesterday, we had attorney Schwartzman on. She's a real estate attorney on the north side of Chicago, actually in the suburbs and the north side of Chicago. And she shared a lot of great information about buying and selling homes, what you need to know when you're buying and selling a home. She had a lot of great information. She's helped hundreds, thousands of people sell their homes. She's been doing it for a long time. Even before she was an attorney, she worked for another attorney who bought and sold homes, a real estate attorney, and she worked for him and then went to law school and then worked for him coming out, and then she's a lawyer. But now she does that for her on her own practice. She helps people buy and sell homes. So again, catch that show. It aired last night, but you can catch it on Spotify. You can catch it on ChicagoTaxTeam.com. You can go there and find it. It's written on Watch Talk Radio. It's there. The video's there. So go there and find it. Now, next week, we have a very special guest. They're all special guests. But next week our guest is going to be attorney Karen Conti. Attorney Conti you may have seen her here or heard her here in Chicago. She's a longtime Chicago attorney. She makes appearances on Fox 32 in the morning where she does legal analysis. She's got a show on WGN Radio. I've appeared on that show several times. So she was kind enough to have me on that show. She's appeared on this show, not this show, but the Trust Radio Network on a number of occasions. The next segment here is the Constitution segment. She's gonna do an appearance on that segment and talk a little bit about her experience on the Supreme Court. So join us for that as we're coming up. And so again, next week, Saturday at 7:00, attorney Karen Conti is going to be on the Trust Radio Network.
It's the blog segment. The blog. The blog.
That's right. See, we're gonna do a blog segment now. See, okay. This is what's going on. I had a call this week from somebody who heard me on the radio. Go figure. And he had hired a company. Now I've been talking about doing a series of either online or somewhere coaching to show people how to solve their own IRS problems. Okay, because and people say, well, isn't that counter to what you need to do, Attorney Leahy? Shouldn't you be encouraging them to hire you instead of doing it themselves? And now, when I say do it yourself, sometimes it makes sense to do it yourself. Sometimes it doesn't. It's like everything else. I mean, sometimes it makes sense to help yourself. Other times you got to hire a professional, whether you're doing work at home or depends on what you're good at, right? If you can do some research, some basic research, if you're good with numbers, if you're good at organizing things, you can solve your own IRS problem. And here's another thing about it that people don't realize. They've changed a lot. The IRS has changed some of the rules to make it easier for people to solve their own IRS problems. Now, if you can pay it. So let me tell you what happened here. This gentleman who called me, he's already in a payment plan. He hired a company. They put him in a payment plan. He makes about his family makes about $200,000 a year. Okay. He owed about $35,000, he said. Well, if you're making $200,000 a year and you owe the IRS $30,000, there's only one really avenue for you to do. Two, actually, right? There's 6 things you could do if you owe the IRS money. One of the things is pay them. Well, he couldn't pay them in a lump sum. The second thing is come up with an installment agreement. If you owe, and now they've just changed it again. It used to be if you owed less than 25, they moved it to if you owe less than 50, and then they moved it to if you owe less than 100,000. They'll do what they call a streamline agreement with you. What that means is that you can look at how much you owe. You divide it by months, say 60 months, 72 months. Sometimes they'll go up to 84 months. Depending on, there's lots of depending, and we'll get into that in this segment, because we're going to do a series of these segments now. How to solve your own IRS problem, and so again, this is that call kind of put this on me because this guy paid this company $7,000 for them to help him. And then they didn't even help him with a penalty abatement, which I think he's entitled to. And that, that's another $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000. So not only did it cost him the $7,000, but this penalty that should have been abated or could have been abated, I think, he didn't get it abated, so that's another $2,000 it cost him, and only because he thought he needed somebody to help him, and all they did for him was put him in a payment plan. He's going to pay off the IRS 100%. So really, it didn't save him any money, and because it's what they call a streamline, he owed less than $50,000. That they'll agree to an installment agreement. Let's say that I owed $30,000. I'm going to do that because the math is easy. And I got 60 months. Well, if I paid $500 a month for 60 months, that'd be $30,000. I could pay the IRS that way. And if I'm making $200,000 a year, I can guarantee the IRS is going to say that I can pay $500 a month. Okay. And so if I can pay $500 a month, I really don't need to pay someone $7,000 to help me do that. Okay, so this is our first step. Step one on figuring out in our module on how to solve your own IRS problem. Step one, figure out what the problem is. And I know that seems like a basic thing, but many people who have IRS problems really don't know the extent of their problems or what the problem actually is, because they put their head under the sand and they pretend there isn't a problem. And so is it 1 year of taxes? Is it 2 years of taxes? Do you owe more than $25,000? Do you owe more than $50,000? So that's the first thing. And as I mentioned, that the IRS keeps changing the rules to make it easier. They've also made it easier because you can go online now and you can get your own transcripts. It's right there on irs.gov. So you go to irs.gov, you pull the transcripts. Now, to be honest with you, sometimes it's hard to read the transcripts because they're in IRS code, whatever that is. And so, but sometimes you can just get a report. For instance, we offer a report, and I'm not trying to plug my own system, but we do offer a report where we'll pull a report for you, and it'll have everything that happened that the IRS knows about you, and it'll put it in a way that you can understand it and understand what your problem is. And again, that's the first step, because you can't solve a problem until you understand what it is. Okay, so first step, get the transcripts, figure out what you owe, figure out how many years are in play, figure out if you filed all your tax returns over the last couple of years. Sometimes people file their tax return and it doesn't appear with the IRS. The IRS will tell you, no, we don't have it. And you'll say, I know I filed it. And maybe you can even prove that you filed it. Maybe you did. But you don't know that you need to prove that until you do an investigation to find out what the problem is. So first thing, find out what the problem is by pulling all your transcripts and then putting them in order and reviewing them to determine what the IRS says. The transcript will tell you when they received your tax return, how much your taxes were, what you paid towards your taxes, how much taxes is left, how much penalties, interest they've assessed against you. Okay, it'll tell you any letters that they've sent you. So maybe you didn't get the letter, because everything that's put in the U.S. mail doesn't always arrive in my mailbox, right? Sometimes they send me a letter, I didn't get it, and I see this all the time. But I want to know what the IRS has sent me, because that could be important, and we're going to go through that later in the next steps as we progress here on the blog segment. I'm going to go through the steps. So, step one, figure out what the problem is. Get the transcripts. Look at the transcripts. Decide what the problem is. Again, you can go to irs.gov and get all of them. They're all there. You could call me, and I can get the transcripts for you. Call me at 312-664-6649. I have a coaching program I'm trying to put together, but that's not what this is about. I'm trying to show you how to solve your own IRS problem. If you have some questions, call me at Open Tax Advocates at 312-664-6649. Be happy to answer questions for you. Okay. You can go online, ChicagoTaxTeam.com. The next segment, we're going to have Karen Conti talk about the Constitution and her appearance at the Supreme Court. So join us, won't you? Here on AM 560, The Answer. Okay, let me just change the... What is the number one reason to avoid Chapter 7? Let's do that. Because I don't have time to think of a better. Uh-oh, that wasn't it. Okay. When Joliet's ready, we will proceed. We're proceeding.
Welcome back to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy. Stephen has helped hundreds of Chicagoans recover from financial disaster, and he wants to help you and your family. There are resolutions, and you will hear about all those resolutions during today's informative discussion on the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560 The Answer. Now, here's your host, attorney Stephen Leahy.
Yeah, I am the tax man here on AM 560 The Answer with Joliet, Josh, and you, the listener.
And now, here's that man with a head just crammed full of knowledge, Mr. Know-It-All.
Yes, I'm not going to claim the title. Yes, I am. I'm Mr. Know-It-All here on this show on AM 560 The Answer. And that's because I know a little bit about, I actually know a lot about solving IRS problems and other things, bankruptcy. So here's the bankruptcy question, because I get calls like this all the time. One of the primary sources of these calls are from my friend David Hochberg, who helps people with mortgages. So if you're looking for a mortgage, contact David Hochberg. I think it's 56david.com. Anyway, you'll hear his commercials here on AM 560 The Answer. And anyway, so he sends people to me because they're trying to refinance. They're having some problems with some credit, and they can't refinance. And so he'll send them to me. Steve, can you help them? And so here's the number one reason why people need. Now, let me say this to you. Almost everybody can file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, but it always doesn't make sense. Okay, so you could file it, but sometimes it's going to get you in trouble. Sometimes you're going to lose things that you don't want to lose. What's the number one thing that you may lose? Well, it's your home, right? Because you may lose if you have anything of value, it's probably in your home or in a retirement account. These are the two places that most people, if they have assets, this is where they are, right? And so luckily, here in Illinois, all your retirement assets are protected. So your creditors cannot go after your retirement accounts. The IRS can, but your regular creditors cannot. Okay, so you're protected that way. But in some states, your home is also protected, like like retirement, but not here in Illinois. Here in Illinois, you can only protect a portion of the equity in your home. And so if you're single, so many of the people that call me are older widowers or widows, and they're having problems with their credit cards. And one of the things is that they've been living in their home for a long time. And so a lot of times they'll have equity in their home. And in Illinois, the exemption allowed in Illinois is $15,000 in equity. So if you have more than $15,000 in equity in your home, and you file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, they can take your home and sell so let me kind of back up and tell you this about Chapter 7 bankruptcy. What the title of Chapter 7, if you were to look up, if you thought of the bankruptcy code as a book, and in that book, Chapter 7, the title of Chapter 7 is titled liquidation. So that's what a Chapter 7 bankruptcy is. It's a liquidation. So what happens under a Chapter 7 liquidation is they look at your assets and they take your assets away from you, those assets that are above the level of exemptions allowed by law. And I just mentioned that the exemptions allowed by law for your home here in Illinois is $15,000 for a single person, $30,000 for a couple. So if I have more than $15,000 in the equity in my home and I file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, the trustee can take my asset, my home, sell it, and then use the proceeds to pay my creditors, all or a portion of what their claims are. And so now if I don't want to lose my home, well, then I shouldn't file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, because they're going to take my home and sell it. Now, sometimes you can work out a deal with the trustee to keep the home, but it's going to cost you to pay it. And so here's another thing, and I should have put this in the title, because we're talking about Chapter 7, why you should, because under Chapter 7, they'll take your home and sell it. But it could even prevent you from filing a Chapter 13, and this is why. Under Chapter 13, the law says that your creditors can do no worse under Chapter 13 than they can under Chapter 7. Well, what does that mean? That means if they can liquidate my assets and pay my creditors under Chapter 7, I have to pay them that much in Chapter 13. But if I have so much equity in my home that I can't pay it off, I don't have that kind of money, well, then I can't really file a Chapter 13 either, because I don't have the money to pay it back. So if let's say I had $60,000 in credit card debts and I have $120,000 in my equity in my home, well, they would take my home, sell it, use the $60,000 to pay my creditors, and then give me the balance, right? Because I only have to pay what I owe. Plus, the trustee would take a big portion of it, and there'd be legal fees and all this. So that's why you don't want to go that route. Under Chapter 13, though, what you'd have to do is pay back that $60,000 in 100%, because they would get paid 100% if I filed a Chapter 7. So that if I can't pay, and remember now, Chapter 13, you can only go for 5 years. That would be $1,000 a month. And so if I can't pay the $1,000 a month, then Chapter 13 won't work for me either. So anyway, this is the thing. If you have creditors and you have equity in your home, then you should pause and give us a call. Anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
Yeah. So again, take a moment. If you want to do the math, if you're thinking about filing bankruptcy and you think you might have some equity in your home, call me. I'd be happy to kind of go over the numbers with you at 312-664-6649. Again, it's 312-664-6649. Sometimes people are caught and they're paying their credit cards and they're not paying their mortgage because they've never missed a credit card payment. And so they're missing their mortgage payment. You got to focus your resources. And that's what we can help you do at Open Tax Advocates. So give us a call, won't you? We're going to take a break and come right back on AM 560. The Answer. Okay. I talk too much. But this is a talk radio show. I have to talk. Okay, Josh Joliet, let us go on with the show.
Welcome back to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy. Stephen has helped hundreds of Chicagoans recover from financial disaster, and he wants to help you and your family. There are resolutions, and you will hear about all those resolutions during today's informative discussion on the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560 The Answer. Now, here's your host, attorney Stephen Leahy.
This segment of the IRS Radio Hour is being brought to you by the Triple Zeros podcast. Triple Zeros, the anti-hot take sports show, because the game's not over until the clock strikes triple zeros. Available wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Stephen Leahy.
Well, thank you, Joliet Josh. I appreciate that sponsorship here on the IRS Radio Hour. I usually talk about sports in this because it's sponsored by, Triple Zeros. That's a sports show. Right, so we usually talk sports, and actually, I could mention the Bears playing on last Thursday. It was nice to see them win, but It wasn't a clear victory. So, would you agree to that, Joliet?
Yeah, very not convincing at all.
Not convincing is right. Andy he was king of the.
He threw for 300 yards.
He's God. He's in. He's our new starter. But I wanted to mention something else because I had a friend of mine yesterday, and he got us some tickets to see Kenny G at the Genovese Theater. So let me say something about the Genovese. I have seen a show there before. I saw REO Speedwagon there several years ago. It's a nice venue. I don't know if you've ever been up there. Very nice venue. It's kind of old school. So very nice. We went to a place called the Shanty restaurant up way up north. And it's been some years I was there. I saw that we went to the Shanty the first time because it was on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. I love to go to the restaurants that were at Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And it was kind of a divey joint back then. I brought my kids. They loved it. They had alligator and they had this pretzel bread that was awesome. So we went up there again. We went up there before the show, the Kenny G show. Now I gotta admit, I'm not a big Kenny G fan. My wife had seen him before many years ago, and no offense, I got to tell you, if anybody was going to play a saxophone for 2 hours, and this was the best that it could be done, and I give him that, it was the best. Nobody could have done that better than Kenny G did that. And he did a lot of Christmas songs, so I knew some of the songs. And there's a couple of Kenny G songs that we've all heard, in the elevator or wherever we heard them before. So again, I've given a lot of credit. It was a good show for what it is. It's just not my cup of tea, really. Okay. My wife liked it. It was good. But we went to the Shanty, and they redid the whole place. It's like a big lodge, a beautiful place, not a diner, drive-in or dive any longer. And the best thing that I loved about it, the pretzels, bread, not there anymore. Alligators, not there anymore. The food was still good. And actually, and they had Old Style in the bottle. So to me, that's a big plus. I go back. So my wife and I, we go back there. It was a reasonable cost. The food was really good. It just wasn't the same place. It wasn't the Shanty. Now it's not really a Shanty. It's kind of a Shantae. I just thought about that. But it was good, and I would recommend it. Beautiful. They redid the place, just beautiful. Again, Genovese Theater was great. I want to thank my friend. He's a regular. I don't know if I should mention him on the show, Attorney Sannon. But thank you. It was nice. Anytime, as I told him, anytime I could spend time with my wife, it was worth it. It was great. It was actually front row too. I'm talking front row. I'm looking up at Kenny G and his saxophone. I was so close, as I told my wife, I could see the spit dropping out of the saxophone. One thing that I'm running out of time, but I wanted to mention this. One thing, that band, he's been together. He went to high school with one of the guys, and the other guys in the band been together for 40 years. So I give him a lot of credit. That's something else. And jazz is, but again, beautiful place. We're going to join us again next week. We're going to be here again on the IRS Radio Hour. So join us, won't you? Shalom Klein's next. Stay tuned for him on AM 560, The Answer. Now, I didn't want to badmouth Kenny G. Again, for those, I got to tell you, people that were there loved him. I mean, they were cheering for him and whoo-hoo.
I have been hearing Kenny G since I was 3 years old.
I'm sure that's true.
Every Sunday, okay, all right, mornings, coming home from school, Kenny G or Michael Bolton were on the radio.
He mentioned Michael Bolton.
I bet he did.
Because here's what he said about Michael Bolton. Because he looks exactly like he did 30 years ago. His hair's the same. He was saying about his guitar player. Yeah, when we first started, his hair was the same color as mine. He said, but he said, that's why I think I'm still successful. He said, if you sell Michael Bolton. He said, I don't want to say that, but he did. He did. So, there was a little banter with the audience, so that was good. He let every one of the band members take like 5 or 10 minutes to do their own thing. But otherwise, you're just a backup it's Kenny G. I mean, I thought about the piano player, and he was good. but they went to high school together. So like, hey, you want to be in my band? Well, I'm going to make 100 times more than you make. I'll pay you. And I'm sure you're making a pretty good living for a jazz pianist.
How many people out there even know Kenny G has a band?
That's true. That's true. But it's like, this is a guy who went to high, and again, how many jobs are out there for a jazz pianist? I mean, you could work at a restaurant.
He's been working consistently.
Yes, and he's on big albums. They still sell a lot, so he's all over the place. I'm sure, so I guess it's a good gig, but here's a guy you went to high school with. He's giving you this, he's got to be making 100 times more than you. And it's his band, and I get that. I just thought, these guys been there for 40 years. He's got the percussion guy, and he's got all the chimes. He had every little gadget you could think of. He had it in the back. Bongo. He was good too. For his 5-minute or 10-minute solo he did, it was really good. Got a bass player. It was very good. So there was a 6-member. He's got a 6-piece band, as you said. Who even knew? I thought it was just a saxophone. And he said his saxophone that he uses, the one that we all have seen him, the straight one. He's had that since high school too. It's the same one. He's had the same saxophone. They gave a saxophone away like his. They had a drawing. I didn't get there in time for the drawing to put my name in, but we did get there in time for the start of the show. But they pulled somebody out, brought him up on stage, gave them a saxophone with a nice case and all that. Guy was crying. He was so happy to get what am I going to do with the saxophone? Learn how to play the saxophone at my age. I just hang it up on the wall or something. It'd be a nice decoration. Anyway, so thanks. It was still a great show. It was great to go with my wife. Loved to spend time with my wife. She liked it. She liked it more than I did. She said she won a trip from was it NUA in Chicago, the radio station, before we met 35 years ago, and she went to San Diego and saw a Kenny G concert then. So that's the last time she saw him, and she said, it looks just like him. I think he played the same songs. He's only got, no, I'm sure he's got thousands. I'm sure he's got hundreds of songs, but we've all heard probably 2 of them. You kidding? You know which one?
I know
it. So anyway, it was good. Great venue. Shanty's good. Kenny G. He said to about his friend. He said 40 years ago we were in high school and we were dreaming of becoming musicians, and we dreamt that one day we would be in Waukegan, Illinois, on a Thursday playing for wasn't even sold out, but it's close. But I think he was kidding. He probably didn't even know. I want to mention one more thing, and that was they had a really nice print of one of the bars at Genovese Theater is called the Jack Benny Bar. I don't know if even know who Jack Benny is, but I know who Jack Benny is, and but they had a nice etching of him too there. So because I don't know if people know this, but Jack Benny was from Waukegan, and so that's why they have the Jack Benny bar there. Anyway, thanks again for the show. That's sports, but not really sports. Although we're already done with that. But thanks again, Joliet Josh, for your help today, and we'll catch you next week. Let's sign out.
Thank you for being a friend, watching our podcast till